her last breath, her last action was an act of love, an act of service, and it's just a testament of who she's been her entire life, but also speaks volumes to who I am.
Welcome to Grief, Gratitude, and the Gray in Between podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Rinaldi. This is a space to explore the full spectrum of grief, from the kind that comes with death to the kind that shows up in life's many transitions. Through stories and conversations, we remind each other that we're not alone. Your journey matters, and here we're figuring it out together. Let's dive right in to today's episode. Let's start with a quick disclaimer. This podcast includes personal stories and perspectives on topics like grief, health, and mental wellness. The views expressed by guests are their own and may reflect individual experiences that are not meant as medical advice. As the host, I hold space for diverse voices, but that does not mean I endorse every viewpoint shared. Please listen with care and take what resonates with you. Hello. On today's episode, I am chatting with Tiriq Rashad Callaway. He is a spoken word artist. He's a recording poet, a storyteller, and he blends his emotional depth and lived experiences into just this beautiful art piece, really. He has just recently released his EP, which at the moment of recording called He Art Speaks, and it earned an official Grammy consideration. Congrats for that. And then his latest album was Kiss My Art, and I am excited to get to chat with you. Welcome, Tiriq.
Thank you so much, Kendra, for that intro, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, well, I love to have diverse voices on my podcast and diverse ways in which people express their grief. I've had authors, I've had psychiatrists, I've had counselors. I've yet to have a spoken word artist on my podcast. So I'm so excited to have you. You're the first
Thank
one.
you for having me. I'm kind of all in one. Those are all kind of like my titles in one, so I'm good.
Yes, because it all comes in. Because let's talk about what spoken word is. Let's talk about what it is for people that don't know what it is, and then we're gonna dive into getting to know you a little bit more. What is spoken word?
So spoken word and poetry kind of intertwine. And how I like to describe spoken word is expressing yourself. And for me personally, I express my deepest thoughts, struggles, challenges, highs and lows, and everything like that. So, in a nutshell, it's just another form of expression. For me, I do it in a cool, savvy way. You could say that it's um, hip hop. You could say it's R&B, it's soul, but it's from my heart, and it's expressing yourself from the heart. That's how I like to describe it.
I was going to say that because a lot of times when you're hearing, like, even rapping is just another way of even somewhat of that spoken word, just in a different way too, right? So just
Absolutely.
different ways in which art and expression, emotion just takes place in this form of spoken word. So I want to get to know you a little more so that the audience gets to know you and we'll just hear your story. So you grew up in Las Vegas. Is that correct?
Atlantic City. Atlantic City is like
Atlantic.
Las Vegas,
You
right?
know what's so funny? This is why when I was listening to your, this is why I said Las Vegas. When I was listening to your TED talk, the one that you did, the spoken word, is like you're saying the casinos at this, and I'm like, oh, it's so funny because I'm in this side, so I don't even think of Atlantic City in the gambling thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a
completely
smaller version of what Las Vegas is today.
Okay.
But Atlantic City back then was like Las Vegas.
Okay, so the Las Vegas of the East Coast. You grew up in the Las Vegas of the East Coast, Atlantic City. There we go. Okay, so
Absolutely.
this is how it is because my research here about you was listening to your art. And so I'm like, okay, oh, okay. So like this is
But the
okay.
casinos, it
The casinos
automatically, yeah,
completely made
yeah,
me
yeah, yeah,
think you had grown up in Las Vegas.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
tell me about your upbringing. You had a really difficult upbringing and you had a lot of responsibilities. So share with us your life as a child and growing up in Atlantic City.
So growing up in Atlantic City, I mean, I wouldn't say a very difficult, but it was challenging. You know, we all have our challenges growing up, and but for me specifically, growing up in Atlantic City, a lot of people think it's just the casinos and the glitz and the glamour and stuff like that, but there are things outside of the casinos. You know, we have a large proportion of homelessness, large population of homelessness, and drugs and alcohol addiction and so many other things that surrounds the communities. You have guns and violence and drugs, et cetera, et cetera. For me, I was able to, for the most part, stay away from those things because I had such a strong foundation with my family, starting with my mother and my father, um, and they tasked or gave me the responsibility of helping them raise my siblings. And that was for me challenging because I wanted to be a kid. You know, I wanted to be a kid and do all of the things that kids do. Although I was able to do some things, I wanted to do so much more. But as I got older and I grew and matured, I realized those things only helped groom me into who the person I am today. So helping raise my oldest brother who has cerebral palsy and autism, like that helped me see the world through a different lens. And helping raise my other siblings, it helped me to be the father that I am today as well. So all of those things just evolved me and groomed me into just being who I am today. And obviously, there were challenges just growing up. I played football for Little League, so I did have my time just enjoying my childhood. But there were times where I just felt, I guess, to a certain degree alone. And that's kind of where I leaned on like writing. I would have a journal or a notebook or something like that, and I would just write my feelings and express myself because when we were growing up, it's kind of like toughen it up, tough it out, do what you need to do, but don't no crying, et cetera, et cetera. And I just found a way to just kind of express myself. For me, I always needed to express myself. I couldn't keep it in. So whether it was me crying to myself or whatever, I found a way to just let it out. And one of my best ways of doing that was writing in a little journal and talking about my rough day or what I can do or can't do or what I'm not able to do. And like I said, there were things that I wasn't able to do as a child. So I would write those things out. Oh, if I can do this, heartbreaks from girls and all of these different things. So my notebook has always been, I guess, my best friend.
Your best friend, your companion, your therapist, your counselor, your
Yeah.
everything. Let's talk about that part about culturally or just within your family unit, or if it was culturally, that part of not being able to express your feelings outwardly. These whole things about like boys don't cry or toughen it up, like there's no
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
for that. And always these things of dismissing our emotions sometimes. And therefore, for some people that don't have or don't end up choosing an outlet like you did, how
Yeah.
that ends up impacting. And I'm sure you probably had peers that had similar situations that maybe did not have an outlet like you did with your writing
Yeah.
that channeled those emotions. How was it? How was it that you ended up kind of finding that as your tool? And let's talk about a little bit more about that.
So it's so much and great question. It's so much different today than it was before, right? Because now today we have so many outlets, and therapy is a trend now. You know what I mean? I hate to put it that way, but realistically, that's kind of what it is, and it's a beautiful thing. Whereas though when I was coming up, that wasn't really pressed upon people. It was just kind of like figure it out, or don't cry, be a man, be a boy, whatever, don't cry. For me, honestly, stumbling across writing and expressing myself through a journal and stuff, I just kind of stumbled across it. I just kind of stumbled across it. It wasn't never put on me or anything like that. But I always listened to music as well. So listening to music was another outlet for me. So as I'm talking out loud about it right now, maybe music was kind of my inspiration to kind of get those feelings out. You know what I mean? And I would just grab the notebook or journal or whatever, and I was having daily entries or other weekly entries or whatever about what's going on. And like I said, that kind of became my best friend, just leaning on that and just talking about what was going on. And it came natural. It came naturally for me.
I
I
love it.
stumbled across it and I just wrote about what I was feeling. And it was easy to always express myself. It was always easy to just say how you feel. Some
Hmm.
people struggle with that, saying how you feel. But I've gotten better with that because when you're younger, you just kind of say whatever out of your mouth, whatever comes to mind, and you don't think about repercussions or anything like that. So it's just like, all right, I'm gonna just say this or say that, and whatever happens, happens. But I need to release whatever is going on inside.
I'm
Whereas
so
though
glad
now I'm older, it's like, all right, I can find better and more savvy ways to kind of
to
put these
express it.
things,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and
Yeah.
put things together and stuff. So yeah, yeah.
the the music part that you're saying, because now you are now being that to someone else as they're listening. Your music is now being what it was. Your music, your spoken word, your art
Mhm.
is now being that comfort that you found then in music when you were growing up, and that you could connect, or like when you would hear a song and be like, oh my gosh, that's what's happening in my life. Can you recall any song or anything as you were growing up, or even now, that you're like, when you listen to it, it brings up some kind of emotion? Was there one particular artist or song that spoke to you that you can remember?
Um, no particular song, but a particular. I mean, I have a lot of favorite artists today, but one artist that will always like I will listen to until my last breath is Tupac. Tupac has always been my inspiration, my motivation. As far as I guess creating music and stuff like that, or just honestly just evoking some kind of emotion, because he was such an emotional rapper, artist, everything across the board, and just the way he was able to express himself. Being so raw and honest in the things that he had to say to the world. Um, and that just kind of encouraged me to a certain degree to express myself as well. And that's what I do today. Just
That's what,
express myself, talk about the things that I'm going through, but also keeping in mind that what I'm going through, the next person is going through the same thing, and it can help encourage and motivate the next person to keep going.
in their life. So in your life, then you had this upbringing that in itself brought up your music. You had then a brother who's older who had disabilities. That in itself can bring up a lot of grief. And then you experience also then the grief of losing your mom. Can you share when she passed and the circumstances she was helping, which I, of what I could see hear from your TED talk, it was that your both your parents did a lot of philanthropic work right to the community, which I can see why it is that you do the work you do now too. And
Hmm.
we'll talk a little bit more about that
Yep,
in a
yep,
minute.
yep, yep.
But let's talk about that. Because she died in a way doing what she always did, helping others.
Hmm.
So can you
Hmm.
share the circumstances and how old you were?
So this is new. Like this is fairly new. 2021. That's mine.
Oh, this is recent. This is not when you
Yeah,
were a child.
2021.
Mm.
My mom passed and whatnot. So, my mom and father were traveling into Atlantic City to go and pick up my sister from work. And when they were going to go pick up my sister from work driving, there was another car that was flipped over on the side of the road. And there was smoke coming from that vehicle. My mother and father pulled over on the right side and crossed the road to pull the lady out of the smoking vehicle, and they helped her get to safety and everything. And then another car came speeding and hit my mother and took her life. So that last her last breath, her last action was an act of love, an act of service, and it's just a testament of who she's been her entire life, but also speaks volumes to who I am today. I've always been a person that is compassionate, that cares for others. But I use my mother as an example for me to help in different ways. You know what I mean? To help in different ways and not to lose my life um, while doing while servicing others, but putting my heart out there and helping others in the best way that I can. So I struggle with that. I have tug of war with that because although my mother lost her life with this last act, but for me, and I know for me, I have kids, wife, family, whatever that I want to live for and be here for forever, for as long as I live. So each step, each decision I make has to be calculated, and I have to think of those things. But also in situations like that, it's kind of like, well, what do I do? Do I, you know what I mean? Do I help this person and do I not help that person? Because that's why I said I play tug of war, and it's kind of like, I just play tug of war with it. You
I
know what I
think so
mean?
many
Because
of us I
I
think
want to
so
be
many
here
of
for my
us
family.
do. I think so
Yeah,
many of us do because what your parents did of stopping at the edge of the road, so many of us, as we're driving and we're seeing that, a lot of us probably even think, should I stop? When there's like somebody, let's say, changing their
yeah,
tire, and you're like,
yeah,
should I stop and help? Like there's this always this, for myself at least, you always kind of have this moment, and like you don't know what the right thing is to do in terms of like for the other, but at the same time, is it right for me right now to put myself in a situation
exactly.
that is also adding you right? So in life, there's, in this case, what your parents did, that's just miraculous. I'm sure
Yeah,
that is incredible. Like that's takes so much to do that type of act, but it's because they had always lived in that way. You mentioned in
exactly.
they had always
Hmm.
lived in that way, right? So you were saying in which how they did in order to help the society in which you guys were growing up, a lot
Yeah,
of times ended up affecting then how much time they also got to spend with you guys at home
yeah,
too, right?
yeah,
so
yep,
so that's that also tug of war that probably now you're also experiencing as a father,
exactly.
right?
Hmm.
Okay, so let's go into that. So what type of
Absolutely.
work did they do in the society that was affecting so much, that their time was maybe more outside of the home, helping the neighborhood, be able to be okay instead of this? Yeah, share with us.
So my dad, he's always been in politics. So he would be in the community, with politics, helping people in the community, helping build the community up, which essentially will help, me, will impact me and my family, my siblings, and in positive ways and stuff like that. So he was always heavily involved in the community, in the community in that way. My mom, she was always working in the casinos. She worked at Taj Mahal, Harris. She worked at all of the casinos, to be honest. But also, she was doing community work where she was working at soup kitchens and things like that. So, and everybody knew her as the cook because she was cooking in the casinos and stuff. So everybody knew Teresa as the cook and loud ass Teresa who can cook. And so, um, just them being able to give back to the community in those ways. There were beautiful things. When I was younger, quite, I didn't ultimately get it. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, and when we're kids, it's like, I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. I just want you to be here with me. We're self-centered as kids, right? We don't think about those things. We just want them to be here with us. I want mommy and daddy to be here to do that, or just mommy and daddy to be here for me so that I can go outside and do this, that, and the third. But in all honesty, it helped me. It kept me away from a lot of the stuff that was going on around the community. You know what I mean? So, but again, as a kid, I didn't care, but I just wanted to be outside, doing bad stuff with my friends. You know what I mean? So, but those things helped me, man. It helped mold me into the person I am. It helped me to be the man that I am, the father that I am, the husband that I am. It groomed me. It really did, and it helped me to be. It helped build a strong bond with my siblings. You know what I mean? We had a very, very strong bond growing up. And it just helped us. It helped us all to stay close. And you
Yep.
need those.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things.
Yes, because ultimately, who you're going to rely on
Yeah.
in your life is going to be your siblings. A lot of times,
Exactly.
I remember when my kids were little and they'd be fighting. I had seen this. I forget where I had seen it. And that you'd like put them back to back, like like back to back. You know, like they were little. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
you
yeah.
guys have to work together to stand up, and you like you see, you feel each other's back. That's who's going to have your back when we're not here. This is the. It's only I have only two, but this is your person. Like, you know, if life goes in the order, which doesn't always go in that order, like my sister died before my one of my, you know, my mom has died as well, but my sister died before my mom. So the order of life is not always that same. But if it were to be that us as parents die before our kids, that's who ultimately they have that can at least relate to the upbringing, to the understand. You know, it's the only other person that lived in the same circumstances as you did, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, it's so important to have those bonds. Now,
Absolutely.
you mentioned then that they are really the reason, and your upbringing is the reason of who you are today. So, aside from being an artist, your work is, as you mentioned, you do social work. So, tell us about that.
Man, all every experience from childhood has brought me to where I am today as a poet, spoken word artist, author, TED talker, etc., etc. It helped me to be the person that I am. And it helped me, it shaped, it guided me to being in school, going to school to be a social worker. I stumbled across, like when I graduated high school, I went to undergraduate studies at Seton Hall University. Um, I stumbled across a social work class because I didn't know what I wanted to do specifically. Like I graduated and I said I'm gonna be a math teacher. When I started taking classes, I'm like, what the hell? What is this? I don't want to do this. R plus U minus X. Like I didn't. I'm like, what is this? I don't. You know what I mean? So you take your core classes and stuff like that. And I stumbled across this social work class one semester, and I said, "Oh wow, I've been doing this my entire life." Like those were literally my words. And then I declared it as a major, and then it was history after that. I finished with my BSW, and then I went on and got my MSW, and I've been in social work ever since. It hasn't been easy, because social work is not, obviously it's not lucrative and stuff like that, and it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? And it's different populations. I've worked with every population from homelessness to mental health, mental illness, to the elderly, to substance abuse. Every population I've worked with, but I've always wanted to work with children and be in education, which is where I'm at today. And it's so rewarding to just be able to talk to them, you know what I mean? Just to be able to talk to them, pick their brains, give them game, you know what I mean, and insight, and let them know that they don't know everything. Because when we're younger, we think we know every single thing in the world,
Oh yeah.
and you know
I
what I mean?
remember when I thought I knew more than my parents, and now I'm seeing it
Exactly,
with my children. I'm like, they think they know more than I do. There's
exactly.
certain things they do know more. There are some things they do know more than me.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's in today's generation. Like they'll put you game on those new things. It's like I don't know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But just
It's
the
humbling,
work.
right?
Exactly, exactly. And it I guess some of the things it ages you too, right? It's like, oh, all right. Yeah, but the work that I do is so very rewarding, just being able to just talk to the kids and help them along the way, and listen to their stories. And social work, you're forever learning too. You know what I mean? Because everybody comes from different backgrounds and different environments, and everybody has their own set of challenges and struggles and things like that. And as a social worker, you have to be able to navigate those things, navigate those challenges, and find different ways to support. You know what I mean? So this work that I do today is um, it's a reflection. All of the things that I've been through in my past is a reflection of what the work that I do today, and I'm super happy and proud of the work that I do, and I'm happy that I chose this field. But I want to. All right, sorry.
I love that in life we have choices, right? It's like your life went in one direction. You could have completely gone a completely different direction, even with your upbringing. You could have, but yet you chose this route, or this route chose you too, because as you were in
Hmm.
college,
Hmm.
right, you ended up kind of picking the career picked you as you realized, right, this is who I've
Absolutely.
been, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 1,000%. And it chose me. I guess it's two-way street. It chose me, but I also chose it.
Mm-hmm.
But like from the beginning, like I don't want to say forced, but forced to kind of do the things that I had to do. I mean, I'm a child, so you know, for the most part, you do as you're told. You know, you listen to your parents and respect your parents and what they tell you to do. And there were things that I just had to learn along the way, and that those responsibilities were helping to raise my siblings and all of those things. And as I got older and got into school and stuff, I said, oh, well, I was doing this already, so I might as well continue to do this. You know what I mean? It's second nature to me now. It's just all of the paperwork and the work and all of the other stuff that I gotta
Yeah,
that
you
I
you
gotta
didn't
do
have to
to
you
make it
didn't have to
official.
take notes. Yeah, you didn't have to take notes on what your brother or sisters had done that day, but this time you do have to take notes. What's your older brother's
Exactly.
name? What's your older brother's?
Hakeem.
Hakeem.
Yes,
Hakeem.
Hakeem.
So yeah, because you were caring for Hakeem. How much older is
Hmm.
Hakeem than you?
Oh, Hakeem is Booby was 4 years old, 4 years older than me.
Okay, okay.
I forgot. I'm bad with ages. I'll
It's
tell you that
okay.
right
It's
now.
okay, especially when it's five kids. It's what I've heard of people
It's
that grew in big
six,
fam. Oh, it's
actually.
six of you. You took care of
Yeah,
five. Okay, so it's six of you.
yeah.
I've heard of people not even knowing sometimes when they're actually even when their birthday is, because when there were so many kids, sometimes the parents didn't even celebrate the birthdays when they were.
You
They
know
would
how it
all
goes. Yeah.
accumulate it
Yep.
into
Yep.
one,
Yep. 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 Yep.
right?
That's
That can
exactly how it
happen.
goes.
Hi, I just had to come on and just kind of interrupt right now this episode that you're hearing. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you guys are listening to this conversation. And every single time I hear a guest, there's something new that I learn and something else that ends up showing up within me that I realize I still have to work on. And if by chance, as you're listening to this conversation, you're feeling the same, that there's parts of you that are being stirred up, and you are navigating a life transition right now that feels just heavy and stressful and just layered with grief, I want you to know that you do not have to do it alone. I invite you to connect with me for a free 15-minute discovery call, and we'll explore what's coming up for you and see if working together feels like the right fit. Just check the show notes below for my email and reach out for details. I'd really love to support you in integrating these transitions with more ease and clarity. Can't wait to hear back from you. Okay, let's keep on listening to the episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tariq, let's move now into talking about your art and your new EP, and how it is that you are now exploring and sharing this now with the world. It went from being something that you would do for yourself, from writing in a book. How did it transition to now being something that you now share with the world?
So so I'll go back a little bit before we even get to this. So when I graduated Seton Hall undergrad studies, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I knew I wanted to no, I didn't. I didn't know that I wanted to go to grad school. I figured once I graduated undergrad, I would just jump into the money. That was my head in my head. I don't know. For some odd reason, I just thought once you graduate, you get a job and you make all of this damn money. So I realized that wasn't a reality. So I'm like, okay. And my boy who had graduated too, we didn't graduate through commencement. We just finished with all of our course studies and stuff like that. So he wound up going to St. Croix um, because he had family over there and he wanted to figure out what his next steps were going to be. And he asked me to go with him, and I was like, I ain't going. More power to you. But make a long story short, I wound up going. And when I went there, it was like the most eye opening, um, evolving, beautiful life experience ever for me. It just was life changing for me. I went over there. I was doing a lot of praying and reading and learning about myself and all of these things because, as I said throughout this interview, it was like, you know, I always wrote my feelings out and things like that. But I've, for the most part, I've always poured into everybody else and helping everybody else. And for the most part, I put Tariq on the back burner. So this experience was a time for me to pour into myself. And that's when life started changing for the best for me. Um, I started writing more, writing a lot about my emotions and feelings. And again, I was away from everything and everyone. I was in St. Croix, never been there before. And I just had this wonderful, life changing time where I was able to just write and read and listen and sit in silence and just really learn about who Tariq is and where he's headed. And then that's when I applied to grad school. That's when I stumbled across applying to grad school to go and get my MSW, my master's in social work. And then I went there. And when I was in grad school, I continued to write poetry. And then I also my thesis project. I created the documentary about the prison system. And I just started doing all of these artsy things where I was just bringing all of the things that was inside of me out of me and just creating art, inspiring art. And then once I graduated with my MSW, now it was just like, all right, now what? And I was just still trying to figure it out. Like, okay, again, I was back like, all right, well, I'm about to make some real money now, but it still wasn't that. So I was just applying to jobs, and then I was going to the gym every day. I was just doing so much. I was just all over the place, and I wound up going to the gym. Like I said, I was going to the gym often, and I wound up going one day, and I tore my Achilles. And the week before that, I had a big interview in New York, and I got the job. So I was supposed to start like a week or two after that. And when I tore my Achilles, I had to call them and tell them I can't accept the role. So I was devastated, hurt, done up, crying, eating everything in the world. I was depressed.
You were grieving. You were grieving
Yeah,
that this loss of
yes,
opportunity and what your idea.
yes.
Oh man.
And what I felt like, I started to, have some direction. And then it brought me back to St. Croix, just reflecting again, reflecting. Tariq, you did all of this work for you to come and just be here right now. What is God telling you? What's going on? And that's when I created my first body of work. Because I always told myself when I was in my undergraduate studies that I would write my book one day. And that's when I wrote my memoir, A Diamond in God's Dirt. And then I just continued to create from there and create and write. And I went on a book tour. I was at Busboys and Poets in DC. I had a book signing in my neighborhood, and I had some press there, and I just kept going from there. And then life started hitting, and you got your peaks and valleys and all of these crazy and beautiful things, and then that ultimately it brought me to COVID. I'm fast forwarding, obviously, but it brought me to COVID, and then I created my first spoken word album. And I was just reflecting the times, my art, just reflecting the times, talking about all of the things that we were going through. And then after that, that is when,
Because your mom
uh,
died during COVID, right? Because it
yeah,
was
no, it
2021.
was right. It was after COVID. So,
Okay.
after COVID, sorry, during COVID, my wife was pregnant. We lost our daughter, and she was like 7.5, 8 months. She was
Oh,
eight
Tariq,
months.
I did
So
not
this
know
was
that.
during COVID. This was during COVID. So it was like it was rough. And we lost her during that time, and that was very scary. Because she was so far along, and it just kind of
Oh man.
happened one day, and then we were able to get through that, and then um my brother I lost, and then my daughter, and then all of these losses, and I was just in a rut, just going through things, and then it just kind of I had to take a lot of time to kind of grieve and get through these things, and that pushed me into therapy and starting to figure more things out about myself and expressing myself, not just through writing, but to someone. Because remember, I said my best friend has always been my journal, but at this point, it's like, all right, I need to talk to someone. And I stumbled across a therapist, and I started building myself back up. And then that's when I started to like really create again, and I started putting this album together, the spoken word album, and stumbled across Rodney. And when I stumbled across Rodney, that was it. And we just started doing things and collaboratively putting things together. And
And Rodney's
um,
your PR
yes,
person.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Who I already
He
met, but the audience
yeah,
doesn't. So
yeah,
just
yeah.
to so people
He
know who he
helped me
is.
a lot with like just all of these connections and things. And then we submitted for Grammy consideration with the EP, When the Heart Speaks, and we submitted, and then became considered for a Grammy, which is beautiful. And then uh, a month after the consideration, I released my album Kiss My Art. So all of my life experiences, specifically within the last like 4 or 5 years, I put into the EP When the Heart Speaks and my album Kiss My Art. I just put everything in there, all my pain, all my hardships, agony, my happiness, all of those things I just put in these two bodies of work. So that's kind of what you got. I'm sorry to be so long winded, but I wanted
Not
to
at
give you the
all.
backstory to help
No,
you
it's
to
to
understand,
understand the no, no,
everything.
no,
So yeah.
perfect. No, I did not know about the grief of losing your daughter uh,
Yeah.
prior to her birth, and
Yeah.
yeah, that is a lot because it's something you guys went as. Was this your first pregnancy?
Yeah,
Oh,
and it
okay,
was a girl.
yeah,
It was a lot. It was very
that
scary
is a
because
lot.
I almost lost my wife along with her daughter. It was a lot. And it was back to back. Like we lost my brother. Then I think a year and some change removed from that. That's when we got pregnant, and then we lost a baby, and then a year, 2 years removed from that, I lost my mom. So like it was like boom, boom, boom. I'm like, God, can I get a break? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I just found ways to grieve, and it was not easy, obviously. But each time I have conversations, each time I interview and talk about it, I heal a piece of me. So yeah.
yeah. Sharing does that. I feel one because it's kind of coming out. Another one is that as you're saying it, you're also honoring the lives of these
Yeah.
people too, as you're mentioning, your
Yep.
stories. It's
Absolutely.
another way of bringing them
Absolutely.
along for this journey, and their life is
Absolutely.
still alive. They're still
Yep.
alive within us and in our stories, and in this case, in your music. I wrote some lines from your song, "No Regrets," from that one. Is that correct? That's "No Regrets"
Yes,
is one
ma'am.
of your singles.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it starts
Video
off,
out as
yeah, the
well. You saw
video's
the
out.
video?
Yes, the video's out, and you can find the whole album on Bandcamp. Is that correct? That's where
Yep.
people can
Yes,
buy it.
ma'am.
Okay. So, but here's one of the lines like grief hits you like a ton of
Of
bricks.
bricks. Mm-hmm.
Like, and then others are like learn from the losses. These are some of the things that learn from the seeds that have been sown. This part, you yourself are like the seed that has been sown. It's like
Mm-hmm.
these things that have
Mm-hmm.
happened. It's like in life we
Yes.
have these little seeds that have been sown based on what we've lived, and then they kind of come up. Let's see if I can read my own writing, because this is usually the challenges. Let me say, hoping to find a better way hoping to find a better way to, you see this part, I can't read these feelings, to refer to, what was
Help,
can you see if you can remember
helping to
your,
find a way to release these feelings, but
there you go. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Let's talk about that help, because that is exactly some of the times that we do not know what to do. We have these emotions we don't know, and your words say what someone is feeling. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that, because I got to know so much about you, because literally all I got from your bio was what you sent me. But by
Mm-hmm.
listening to No Regrets and your TED Talk, aside from the part that I got
Mm-hmm.
the
The
Atlantic
Vegas,
City
yeah, I
wrong,
got
the
you. I got
city wrong. All other than that, in those 7 minutes, I think that your TEDx, or however long that talk
Yep.
is, I was able to get so much of your life within that. So this is the power of art. It has a
Hmm.
power of storytelling. It has a power of connecting. It's just so powerful. So I want to first off honor you for using
Thank you.
your art as that platform and then the way that you express, but just honor in general, just for all of us, that expression of art and how much it has that power of connecting with others and their stories. So let's talk about no
Absolutely.
regrets.
Thank you for
Let
that. Thank you for
Yeah,
that. I appreciate it.
yeah. Tell us more about no regrets, and then create that particular song. And if it's it, of course, you just expressed a little bit about your own life and the grief. And so, how did that one come to be birthed? How did no?
So thank you again for that. And you summed that up perfectly. Like my TED talk is literally like my life. You know what I mean? And I chopped it down to 7 minutes, if you may. But I tried to touch on each and everything, but it revolved around my brother, who passed, who obviously, as I mentioned, had cerebral palsy and autism, and he again helped groom me into the person I am, which is why I help and I see things from a different lens because my brother Hakeem, he couldn't write, he couldn't walk, he couldn't. I mean, he could walk, but as years went on, he couldn't walk, but he couldn't talk, he couldn't feed himself. Like I had to give him medication, and so I looked at life differently since I was younger, and even still today. You know what I mean? And that TED talk just kind of sums up how my life has been and why I am the person I am today. No regrets. Um, it's specifically about living life without regrets. It revolved and it was inspired by the loss of my mom, but more so inspired by the emotions that we live with after loss. We lose people and then we have all of these regrets, right? And it's like, all right, well, why do I have to live with these regrets? And I kind of, as I mentioned earlier, I kind of go back and forth throughout the record as well. It's kind of like, all right, well, I don't have regrets, but at the same time, I think I do have regrets. You know what I mean? Because it's like, maybe, growing up, I could have um, picked up the phone when my mom called. Because sometimes it's like, man, I don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? Or you missed a text or you didn't respond and things like that. And those are just small things, but you just think of all of those things, just wanting to have more time with the person that you lost. You know what I mean? And just dealing with those emotions after you lose a person. And once you start facing those emotions, it's difficult. You know what I mean? Because you're reliving those moments that I just expressed, but you're also reliving that, for me, that last day in which I lost my mom. You know what I mean? And just thinking like, damn, what if she didn't help this person? She would still be here. You know what I mean? What if I was there with my mom? She wouldn't, like, maybe we could have found it. Maybe I could have helped her, pulled her out of the way, pushed her out of the way. You just think of all of these things. And it's just like, for me, I was like, I can't continue to live my life like that because I'm going to, as the kids would say, crash out. You know what I mean? I can't. And as I told you earlier, I my life is not about just me. You know what I mean? The experiences that I go through is not about me. My kids are my legacy, so I have to be calculated, as I mentioned already, with my decision making. I have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. We go through these life experiences, all of these hardships, and sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner. We forget to take care of ourselves because we're in madness, melee, all of these things. And it's like, all right, I got to do this. I got to handle this responsibility. I got to do that. I got to do that. Check that off the list. Check. And when you're doing all of those things, it's like, oh, I forgot to eat. Oh, I forgot to do this for myself. I forgot to drink water. Like, I forgot to do all of these things for myself. And then at the end of the day, it's like, all right, I'm tired. I'll get to it later. So it's like, for me, I'm like, I can't do that. I have to prioritize. And the priority is Tariq. And when I'm taking care of myself, that will in turn help other people. and I'll be an example for other people in that way. And directly, I'll be an example for my children. You know what I mean? So,
I absolutely love what you just said because a lot of times we feel that taking care of ourselves is selfish, and it is not. It's exactly
yeah,
what you just said. I used to be, well, I still am very
to a
cautious of
certain
like what
degree.
I, yeah,
Yeah,
there's,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but I'm really cautious of what I eat and how I exercise. And a lot of times that takes time. And there were times in which I'd feel like a little, let's say, uh,
Guilty.
regret guilty, yes, by doing that, but
Uh-huh.
at the same time I was doing it because I do not want to live in a, like, I don't want to age in a way that's going to have my children take care of me. I want to
Yep,
be able,
yep.
right? So there's things that it's not selfish to take care of yourself because you really are doing it with the idea that it is for the good of your whole
Thousand
family
percent.
unit, right? And your
Thousand
mental
percent.
health, how much it affects your mental health, your well-being, your emotional well-being, when you're able to take care of yourself, the impact that that has in your family
Exactly.
unit, right? Yeah, it's so,
Yep.
thank you for bringing that up because a lot of times we do put, and especially I say this as a mom, I know we put ourselves in back burners often,
Hmm.
a lot, often a lot. I'm redundant there with my words, but
No,
you,
and it's
yeah,
not fair to ourselves. It's not fair to
right,
us. It's not fair to the things that we're building. Like, obviously, you have a podcast, and I'm sure you have a thousand other things that you do. But if we're putting ourselves second, it's like, how are we able to be productive, our best version of ourselves? How can we be those things if we're putting ourselves second? You know what I mean? We
yes,
have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, whether that be through therapy, for me, writing, creating, expressing yourself, you have to let it out. You go to the spa. Like, take care of yourself. Take a moment to breathe, sit in silence, woosah. Like, we bear so much, the world is heavy, but the world is also a beautiful place to live in. You know what I mean? So I think perspective is leaning on those beautiful things, and the beautiful thing starts with us, and we got to allow that light from within to shine through. And we allow that light to shine through by taking care of ourselves.
I absolutely love that. Thank you. Tariq, before we wrap up and tell people how they can get a hold of you and how they can find your music, I mentioned Bandcamp, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. I want to ask, is there something you want to make sure that you share with the audience if by chance I have not asked it yet?
I think, just to piggyback off of what I said, just prioritize yourself, prioritize your mental health. Love on yourself. When you love on yourself and take care of yourself, you're able to love on everyone else. You know what I mean? And yeah, you might not want to love on anybody else, but take care of yourself along the way. That is priority. It really is. And you'll start to see life in a different way, and be empathetic. There's so many other people in the world who go through things, and I think sometimes we can be selfish um, in that instance where it's like, all right, well, I'm not thinking about the next person, I'm thinking about me. And that's fine, think about yourself, but there's another person out there, especially, I mean, I'm on the East Coast, I'm in New Jersey, so it's cold as hell. So I think of like the homeless, people out there who don't have a home. Like, so I always think of those things, and uh, just live life in gratitude. You know what I mean? Because it's another person who would die to be in your shoes and where you are. So be empathetic, live life, take care of yourself, be empathetic, and please live life with gratitude.
Perfect. Beautiful. Okay, Tariq Rashad Callaway, how can people find you? Your website. I know I'll put it in the show notes, but if you want to say the
Yes,
best
ma'am.
ways of which people can get your LP, your EP and stuff, just let us know.
So TariqRashad.com, that's my official website, but I'm very active on my Instagram page, which is Tariq underscore Rashad. That's TIRIQ underscore RASHAD. And my album, Kiss My Art, is on Bandcamp. I have merch, hoodies. I have a Kiss My Journal, which is pretty cool. I'm at work. I wish I would have brought this stuff so I could show you guys, but it's some pretty cool stuff on my website and on my Bandcamp page. Once you go to Bandcamp, you can type my name in, and all my information will pop up. My EP, When the Heart Speaks, is on Spotify, Apple Music, and everywhere else. You can find that there as well. So Thank you so much, Kendra, for having me. It's been a beautiful conversation. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
inspiring us and sharing your story. And also for all of you listening, I hope that this brings you a little bit of comfort and also maybe even sparks that creativeness within you to express in some shape or form in art how you're feeling. And it may be spoken word, it may be dance, it may be, who knows, a movie, whatever it is, art in some shape or form, because creating something does really heal the soul and soothe the soul. So
Thousand
thank you.
percent.
Thank you so much again, Tariq.
Thank you.
Thank you again so much for choosing to listen today. I hope that you can take away a few nuggets from today's episode that can bring you comfort in your times of grief. If so, it would mean so much to me if you would rate and comment on this episode. And if you feel inspired in some way to share it with someone who may need to hear this, please do so. Also, if you or someone you know has a story of grief and gratitude that should be shared so that others can be inspired as well, please reach out to me. And thanks once again for tuning in to Grief, Gratitude, and the Gray in Between podcast. Have a beautiful day.